So welcome to the second video in this series about happiness and how we want to cultivate that and create good habits in our lives to maximize our happiness, our resilience, our ability to handle things that happen in our lives. This is another happy place for me, as strange as it may look. This is my bicycle shop, and I enjoy spending time here. I can do things with my hands. I'm sort of free of distractions. I'm a little bit focused on cleaning the chain or doing whatever I have to do on the bike. But it also gives me a great deal of satisfaction because I feel when I finish something here, I've really accomplished something. I can call something done and I can feel good about it. And that, as we'll see, is a very regular source of happiness. Another reminder of happy moments, I can't go back there to do a video, was the top of a mountain that I climbed a couple of years ago, and that's the t-shirt here. It was called the Col de Tourmalet, and it's a mountain between it's on the French side of the border between Spain and France and the Pyrenees, and I rode my bike up there one time many years ago. You can see a photo, at least of the bike here. Didn't feel the need to take a picture of myself. I was more excited about being there, and it was definitely a moment of great accomplishment and happiness. And so those are good moments to reflect on. They're good moments to think back on when we need to feel good about ourselves, and especially when we need to feel like we've overcome a challenge. Because climbing this 22-kilometer peak was certainly a physical challenge for me, and I felt very good about doing it. It was also a beautiful place to be, and a truly happy place to hang out a little bit. So in this episode, we're going to talk about two things. One of them is the need to think about exercises that we do building our happiness to be very similar to exercise we do for our physical bodies. Some of us are addicted, more or less. Some of us have to exercise. We recognize what exercise does for us at physical exercise. And I think we should be trying to build that same sort of regular need for exercises in the area of emotional and psychological happiness that we do for our physical happiness and our physical joy and our physical fitness. I like to show this integral. This is the sort of life score, if you will. This is how I like to be able to measure my own life, and it's the integral of happiness. It's not the integral of money. It's not the integral of lots of other things. Certainly not scientific papers, but it is an integral that's important. And the happiness part, the integrand, that's something we need to figure out how to maximize. And just like with physical exercise, we're going to get there if we build habits and do this on a regular basis. So think about happiness building, in a way that's not that different really from physical fitness building. Now, there's a guy named Tal Ben-Shahar, who's also a happiness expert, has written books and articles on this topic. And he has, among many other clever ideas, this notion of 3 R's, and he calls them reminders, repetition, and ritual. Now, reminders are the little things that make us think, oh, I should go exercise. They're the putting our running shoes next to our bed in the morning, or putting them by the door, or in my case, the bicycle helmet, making sure I see it, and it reminds me, oh yeah, I should go for a ride because I'll feel better afterwards. And so there's little things we can consciously do to set up the background for change. Repetition, of course, is what we have to do to enjoy the benefits. So exercise and happiness are very similar in that you can't just spend an hour thinking about being happy and then you're good for life. Just like you can't go to the gym and go through a workout, no matter how hard that workout is, and feel like, okay, I've got fitness nailed. I don't have to keep this up. So as with physical fitness, we need repetition to build in something that's the 3rd R, which is ritual, which means that the act of thinking about things, about engaging in practices that improve our happiness, are just something that's built into our lives. These are the rituals of our lives. And again, some of us know this in a physical fitness setting, that we have rituals. The rituals could be the regular skiing we do in the winter, and then we do the training for it in the off season, and it could be riding the bike or going for a run or whatever your favorite exercise is. And once it becomes a ritual, then it becomes embedded in our lives. And so this strategy is a good one to think about in terms of happiness exercises. Now, There's another acronym that I came across in reading more about this, and it's called the HEAL acronym. And this is pretty relative to happiness and what this author was calling the happiness muscle, in the sense we have to have and start with a positive experience. We have to seek out, arrange things so that we have an experience that's likely to be positive, that we know from the past it is going to make us feel good. And we have to do that. And then we have to think about, how do we enrich that experience? How do we make it even better than the first time we did it? And then how do we absorb it? How do we internalize and savor that moment of happiness? So riding my bike to the top of a mountain could have been an event where I just rode over the top of the mountain and headed back down as quickly as I could to go have a dinner. But that's not the best way to do it. It's much more lasting, and the experience is much richer if we can stop and savor and enjoy all the good feelings that come from a moment like that. That's how we enrich and absorb it. And then finally, and we'll get into the details of this later, is to start to link positive and negative thoughts to that accomplishment or to that moment. And like I say, we'll put that on the shelf for a later discussion. It's a deeper topic that we need to get into. So the point is here, there are strategies that are well documented, tried and true, and hopefully there's one that can work for you. Now, one piece of this whole story, this idea of savoring the moment, is really about expressing gratitude in our lives. So our brains are pretty amazing. As we'll see in another episode, they can also subvert us a little bit. They can mislead us at times for interesting reasons, but we can consciously understand why we should be grateful for an event in our lives. This is this enriching it. This is this deepening the moment by savoring it and feeling grateful for it. Now, you can do that in a specific moment of obvious happiness, but you can also make this a regular exercise, because most of us have something to be grateful for pretty much every day. Life is not so miserable for most of us that there isn't something to be happy about in some way in our lives. And this can feed many positive responses in our brain and help really build up a solid foundation for the health, the happiness health that we're trying to build up here. These moments of gratitude can build our sense of optimism. We can become a little bit more hopeful when we recognize that something good has happened and we acknowledge it. It can also be an important element of realizing that sometimes we feel the greatest gratitude, not for things that happened to us, but for things we did for others. So there's a link between that feeling of gratitude and the selflessness that we had in executing on something like this. And we'll come back to selflessness a lot. We can also build empathy in this situation when we think about others, and maybe we've done a good thing for others, and maybe we're grateful for the opportunity to help somebody and to see their joy and reflect that joy. And finally, it does build our self-esteem. When we can look back and say we have things to be grateful for, then that ultimately makes us feel like, okay, I have a place here, I have a value in life, and that's a really important cornerstone to our overall emotional health. So gratitude does lots of interesting things in the brain. It literally releases toxic emotions. So that's been documented. There's fMRI studies and there's science behind these ideas. And toxic emotions are those ones that block us up, that make us get stuck, that make us ruminate, that stop us from moving forward. And recognizing what it is we have to be grateful for can help release some of that and can be very positive. Can also help a lot in stressful situations when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling like we can't keep up. There's too many exams, there's too many homeworks, I'm not getting anywhere. Just a quiet moment of saying, okay, I do all that, but I'm grateful because I have great classmates, or I'm grateful because somebody explained something to me, or I'm grateful because I have a quiet place where I can go study and think about things. There's always things to be grateful for. Now, again, this has been shown scientifically too, that gratitude can even reduce chronic pain. So patients who have dealt with chronic pain in their lives for all kinds of physical reasons find that being grateful for what they do have functionally reduces their perception of that pain. It can be part of a pain management program, which when you think about it is remarkably powerful. It can improve our sleep quality. Thinking a little bit of what we have to be thankful for, maybe in the evening before we go to bed, that can be a great exercise to help us move into that sleep phase. And we'll talk more later too about the value of sleep and the importance of sleep in our happiness. And then overall, again, this has been shown in many studies that feelings of gratitude can reduce our anxiety, can reduce that feeling of things becoming too much for us, and even improve any tendencies we might have to slip into depression. So this is a very powerful, little drug, if you will, but it's an action, it's an exercise that we have to do regularly. And so here's a graph that shows sort of all the complex interactions that we have with our brain and the way gratitude interacts with our brain. And again, these are neurophysiological features where we get dopamine and serotonin release in moments when we're experiencing gratitude. And these are neurotransmitters, chemicals that can improve our feelings of joy. We can reduce our fear and anxiety by regulating the stress hormones. Hormones are very real. They get secreted from our brains. And in moments of gratitude that we can experience and acknowledge and internalize, we can actually reduce the excretion of those stress hormones. So there's real physiology behind some of these things that may sound a little fluffy with hearing them the first time. The other thing that's great about gratitude is it not only helps us, but it helps us in our society. And for us, the society is our classroom, our classmates, our university. That is our, when you're a university student, and I'm part of this as a professor, the university is really our little society. And when we can express gratitude, it improves the overall well-being and health of that society. And that's an important facet to keep in mind here too. So finally, and I like to end these episodes on some action items. What can we do about this? So there's a thing you've probably come across, you can read about it on the internet. There's a thing called a gratitude journal that you can start to create. And there's a little challenge here that people like to pose to help us get into this habit of gratitude. And it may start a little formally and may feel a little stiff and formal at the start, but it's something that over time we can do without necessarily maintaining this journal. It turns out writing things down, whether it's on paper or in a computer, is a powerful process. It does help us reflect a great deal. So if we can, at least once a day, like say, at the end of the day is maybe a good time. Depends, you have to try that out. Just to write down or capture somehow 3 things that you have to be grateful for. And I would defy any of you not to be able to find 3 even small things to be grateful for. And they really can be small things. It can be the fact that it's not raining today, or maybe that the weather's a little cooler, or that snowstorm is coming that you're looking forward to for a great ski weekend. And just write those things down. And you can do it as an app, of course. There's a software for this. You can just do it in a notebook, whatever works for you. And then at the end of that, just think a little bit, reflect a little bit. And you'll hear me talk about reflection a lot. I'm a firm believer that it helps us process so many things, but reflect a little bit on how it makes you feel when you do this, when you write down these 3 things and read them again, those 3 things you're grateful for in a given day. How does it make you feel? And that positive feedback that most of us will have once we get into this can be very, very, very powerful and very calming and very supportive of the happiness that we're trying to build and the resilience that we're trying to gain in order to deal, like I say, with the challenges of every life, and mine, yours, everybody around us. We have to figure out better ways to deal with that, and that's really what improving our happiness fundamentally is all about. All right, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and take good care of yourself.